everyone, it's Annie. I have been tagged by the lovely Olivia Savannah from Olivia's Catastrophe in the School Days book tag, and it's a really fun tag. Thank you so much for tagging me, and I'm really looking forward to doing it because the questions are really fun. But before we start, I got the new Sakura Frappuccino from Starbucks. It is a Sakura berry Frappuccino, and I thought it just came out, so I'll grab one from the drive-thru on my way home and try it with you guys. So, here we go. Wow. That is interesting. That is a complex flavor. The berry hits you like right up front, and then you get the sakura, and then it's like this sweet kind of vanilla-y. It's very sweet. It's very sweet. I don't know if I could get this again because of how sweet it is, but I'm glad I got it because I actually really like it. I did not really like last year's Sakura drink. I forget what it was, but I just remember I didn't really like it that much, so I'm glad I like this year's. So the first question is the first bell, and it is, what book got you into reading? I kind of mentioned this in my small booktuber tag or the new booktube movie tag or something. I don't know. There's a lot of books that got me into reading. My family had a ton of books in my house growing up, and we had the Dear America series and also the series that was kind of like Dear America. I don't think it was called The Princess Diaries. The Royal Diaries? It was like these diaries of young princesses from different countries that I really loved, and I read them all. I think those probably got me into reading. I was also a big fan of the Witch series. Do you guys know that? Like Witch with the dots in between the letters, and they were like elemental fairies. I don't know. I loved it. I was obsessed. I also loved the Warriors series. Yeah, I'm planning to, when I move back home, make a video about my childhood favorites, so you'll hear more about it then. Break time. What was the most recent book that I had to take a break from or DNF? There are two. The first one is Raphael, Painter in Rome by Stephanie Story. I have not officially DNF'd this. I just took a break from it because while I love Stephanie Story's writing, I think she's a very talented author. I really loved her book Oil and Marble about Leonardo da Vinci and Michelangelo, but I realized very quickly while reading the Raphael book that he's not a good person, and I really didn't want to spend my time reading about someone that I hated. I don't know if he'll have a character arc where he gets better. I really hope so, but just the way he treated women was absolutely disgraceful. And that has nothing to do with Stephanie Story's writing. It's wonderful, and I am planning on picking up this book again. But one book that I did officially DNF was Forever Sea, which is so sad because I was really excited for this. This was a new release. I am so sad about this. It's an epic fantasy. It sounds really cool. The cover is gorgeous, but it was just so boring. I was not interested in anything that was happening at all. And just the magic system, while it sounded interesting in the synopsis, was not really well thought out. It was just a mess, to be honest. I don't know. I did not enjoy it personally. I think some people definitely could enjoy it. Maybe if you're more of a fantasy fan than I am and you have a little bit more suspension of disbelief, then maybe you could do it. So, yeah. Lunchtime. What is your favorite book to do with food? Well, I have not read that many books to do with food, I don't think. I'm gonna say The Cooking Gene by Michael Twitty again. I know I've mentioned this book a ton of times on this channel already, but I recently read it for the Scooby-Doo Readathon in January, and it is just an amazing journey that Michael Twitty brings us on. It's a real privilege to read about his genealogy journey, finding out the makeup of his DNA and everything like that. And also his knowledge about Southern Black food is amazing. Like, it is just such a well-structured book and just really, really good balance of personal anecdotes, personal history, and stories about food and the history of the food. It is so, so good. I really, really recommend this book. Now for the final bell. Which book have I most recently finished reading? Well, at the time of filming this, that would be Fireheart Tiger by Aliette de Baudard, and it's a short novella set in a Vietnam-inspired fantasy world. The world building in this novella, impeccable. Just absolutely so well done. She just drops you in, and oh my god, the themes in this novella are so important. There are themes about dealing with abuse, dealing with colonialism, dealing with relationships, and oh my god, it's really, really good. Highly recommend it. It is a novella. It's about 100 pages, a little bit more, so it's obviously very short, and I kind of wish it was longer because I wanted more of it, but that's my only issue with it. I really loved it, and you should read it. The next prompt is homework. What was the last nonfiction book that I read and enjoyed? Well, that would be Distant Sunflower Fields by Li Juan. This book was translated into English from Chinese. It is about Li Juan and her family. She grew up in Xinjiang, I think I'm pronouncing that right, which is an autonomous region of China near the Kazakhstan border. And she talks about her family and living with her mother and her grandmother and farming these sunflowers and their trials and troubles that they have trying to make ends meet. All their animals I really, really loved. The descriptions of the nature of where they're living and the people that they meet, just beautiful. You can really feel like you are there with her in the middle of nowhere. So I really recommend this. It's a beautiful memoir. And the next prompt is staff room. Tell us about a book that you read when you need to take a breath. Interesting. Well, it's not a specific book per se, but it is a genre, and that genre is sci-fi. It's just a very comforting thing for me. Recently, I've been reading the Murderbot series, and I found that when I feel kind of bogged down with like more serious books or longer books, I tend to want to pick up the next book of the Murderbot series because they're fairly short, except for the latest one, which is a full-length novel, and they're just so enjoyable, so funny, and even though there are very serious things, there are fight scenes in it and stuff, it's exciting. And it's just easy to read. It's easy to get sucked into the story and know that I'm going to enjoy the book. Now for the subjects. Subject 1 is English, and the prompt is to tell you guys about one book that I read in school. I'm gonna choose high school, and that book is Wit by Margaret Edson. I read this in my senior year of high school. It's a play, a Pulitzer Prize winning play, and it is about this woman who has cancer, a really aggressive cancer, and it's very, very short, but it's very impactful. It really, I mean, all these years later, I still remember really having emotions about it, and it deals with death in a really important way, so I really recommend you guys read this. And a book that I would add to the curriculum, I don't know, it's hard. I've actually been thinking about this question for a possible video idea that I might do in the future, but one that does come to mind is The Life of Pi. I love this book so much. I went to see the movie when it came out like at least 5 times. I loved it so much. I love this book. I think it's super, super important. It's a great survival story, and I know those are kind of popular to read in school for whatever reason, at least in America. It deals with religion in such an interesting way. I love it so much. It's one of my favorite books. So I would have loved to read this in school. Now for math. How do I rate my books? Well, depending on when this video will come out, I will have either already uploaded or will upload a video about this very, very soon. But the short answer is that I just go with what I feel. I do try and take things into consideration, like if it's a memoir, I tend to either just not rate it or rate it 5 stars because I feel like I can't really judge a person's life like that. And if it's a middle grade or something, I tend to try and keep that in mind because obviously I'm not the intended audience. So things like that I try and keep in mind. But honestly, it's just about my personal enjoyment. Now for science, which book couple has the best chemistry? Okay, I have 2 that immediately come to mind. Aristotle and Dante. I mean, how can you argue with that? They're just perfect. Oh, chef's kiss, perfect. And Achilles and Patroclus. Again, just, so beautiful. So beautiful. Such a gorgeous relationship in both of these books. Yes, they're goals. That's what they are. They're absolutely beautiful, and their chemistry is out of this world. Now for geography. Describe a book that has a strong sense of place or great world building. Well, there are many that do that, but one that comes immediately to mind is the Ancillary Justice series by Ann Leckie. One of my favorites of all time. Her world-building skills are just incredible. Like, her whole universe, with all the different alien species, all the different planets that are visited, the religion that she creates, and the impact that this religion has on the colonized planets. So, so good. Just, her worlds are so unique, and she does not hold your hand at all. She drops you in there. And honestly, when I first read Ancillary Justice, I was so confused until about halfway through the book, and then I kind of understood. But, the images are still so vivid in my mind from reading it. I love it. She has an amazing talent for world building, and it's present in her other books as well, so definitely go check her out if you haven't already. The next subject is history. What are 3 historical fiction novels that you enjoyed? Well, I'll go into the ones that I've most recently enjoyed. Those are Last Night at the Telegraph Club by Melinda Lowe. I gave this 5 stars. It's set in 1950s San Francisco, following a Chinese-American girl and I believe an Italian-American girl, and their relationship, their blossoming romance, and it's beautiful and heart-wrenching and super realistic characters as well. Melinda Lowe's writing, gorgeous. Just everything you could ever want. It hits the nail on the head. And I also very recently finished Lovely War, and I loved it. I'm actually a bit surprised that I loved it as much as I did because it is so romance heavy, but the aspect of it being told by Greek gods is just so special. I love it, and I think the fact that it was set in World War I instead of World War II, which a lot of historical fiction is set in, I really, really enjoy that as well because I don't know as much about World War I as I do World War II. So that was very interesting to read about. I loved the characters. They were so realistic, and their relationships were very realistic. I highly, highly recommend this book. There's a reason it's so hyped. And I'd like to tell you about The Mermaid from Jeju by Sumi Han. This is a historical fiction novel about Jeju Island, which is in South Korea, and its history and the people that lived there during the Korean War, or just before the Korean War, which was a very tumultuous time, and the Jeju massacre occurred in the book, and oh my gosh, it is beautifully written, so good. If you're a fan of pachinko, which I also really enjoyed, I would really check out this book. I wish more people read it because it deserves it. Now for religious studies, which is a book that you always come back to. Pride and Prejudice. Absolutely. I read Pride and Prejudice for the first time when I was 15 in school, actually, for school, which is cool. And I fell in love with it instantly. I adore this book. Now, I think I've read it twice, but the movie, I can literally watch the 2005 movie every day of my life and not get tired of it. I love it. Of course, I love the BBC miniseries. It's so well done, but there's just something special about the 2005 movie. I don't know. I love it. So good. I love it. I will never get tired of it. The next subject is PE. Show us the biggest book on your TBR. Well, that book is War and Peace by Leo Tolstoy. One of my goals this year is to read Russian classics, and War and Peace is, of course, the Russian classic. I also love the musical The Great Comet, so that is based on, I think, a 70-ish page snippet of War and Peace, and a whole musical came out of that. So I really am interested in reading this. I know it's a big undertaking, but I think I can do it. I read Les Miserables last year, so I know it is possible for me to get through these bricks, but we'll see once I actually get the motivation to pick this one up. Now for music. Which reading format do I think has the best rhythm for reading? Absolutely audiobooks. I cannot live without audiobooks. I would not read half as much as I do now if I didn't listen to audiobooks. It is just how I read, how I prefer to read. It's just so relaxing to listen if you have a good narrator, and it's so convenient as well because you can take it anywhere. You can do almost anything while you're listening to the audiobook. It's just great. I love them, and I'm so grateful to have them. Now for drama. Which book do I think has the best ending? Now, of course, there are so many books to choose from here. It is very subjective. But I think a book that we can all agree on is Holes. I mean, that book is just pretty much as close to perfection as one can get, in my opinion. Holes is amazing. I don't want to say the actual ending because if you haven't read it or watched it, first of all, why not? Second of all, I don't want to spoil you, but it's just a beautiful book. Very heartwarming ending. Please read it. Now for art. Name 3 books that I think have the best covers. Wow, this is going to be hard because I am very, I don't know if judgmental is the right word, but kind of picky with book covers. One that I read recently was Wolf for a Spell. It's a middle grade novel, a polar fantasy novel I read for Polarthon. Look at this cover. It is just, it's beautiful. So many middle grade books have absolutely gorgeous cover art that I love, and this book especially has a super nice balance of like whimsicalness and that magical middle grade feeling with a fantasy-esque art style. I don't know, it is beautiful. The colors are gorgeous and it really fits the story very well. Another one is Watch Over Me by Nina LaCour. This is a style of cover that I enjoy very much, which is like a pretty girl, but it's not a photo, it's a beautifully rendered art piece with flowers most of the time, and it's simple but mysterious, and there's like something weird going on. Like this one has the hair, and like Wilder Girls, I haven't read that, but the cover is gorgeous. has like this weirdness going on. I love this. I love this style. Yes, everything about this is gorgeous. And the other one that I keep thinking of, I'm going to mention even though I haven't read it, which is Priory of the Orange Tree. This cover, I mean, do I even have to say anything? It speaks for itself, I think. It is absolutely gorgeous. The bright orange, beautiful. The dragon, oh my gosh, just... This is what a fantasy cover should always look like, in my opinion. Just absolutely gorgeous. Haven't read it, so I don't know how well it fits the book inside, but I think the cover art is most of the reason why I want to read it, so that's a sign of a good cover right there. The next and last subject is my favorite, modern languages, and it's to tell you about a translated book that I enjoyed, and that would be Human X by Han Kang. This was translated from Korean into English. It is about the student uprisings in the 1980s in South Korea. Han Kang's writing is unmatched. Absolutely unmatched. Just so powerful. It really, really brings you into what's happening and the trauma of what is happening. This book is very heavy, so please go into it being careful of that. But oh my gosh, just the experiences that this main character goes through are just horrible. It's also a really great history lesson. It's a historical fiction book, and you learn so much. I highly recommend this. I know The Vegetarian is Han Kang's most popular book, at least of her translated works, but I personally like Human X better. I think it is the best. So, highly recommend this. Alright guys, that is it for this tag. Thank you very much for watching. I had a lot of fun making this. This was really fun to answer these questions. And I am tagging, well, anyone who wants to do it who's watching. Of course, you're welcome to do this tag. But I'm specifically tagging 2 other booktubers. One is Noelle 7 Pages. Hi Noelle! I'd really love to hear your answers to this. And also Books with Bridget. I'd love to hear your answers to this as well. I'm really interested in what you guys read in school and all the other questions. So yeah. And if you also did this tag, whether I tagged you specifically or not, I'd really love to watch it. So please comment down below with the link to your video. And also tell me your opinions on the books that I mentioned. I'd love to chat with you about them. Alright guys, thank you so much. Take care and have a wonderful day. And don't forget to like and subscribe. Bye!